numerous roles, leadership roles as club president, vice president in the areas of education, membership, and public relations. So there's a lot that we have learned from her. And as an experienced club coach and mentor, Mei-Yan has also conducted many speechcraft workshops to help new Toastmasters and others, even members of the public, to master the art of effective public speaking. And also to build on her passion to cultivate professionalism in public speaking, she has also joined the Association of Singapore Professional Speakers as a fellow. And above all, she also champions the Rotarian cause for community service. She is currently an active member of Rotary E-Club of 3310. So without further ado, I want you to join me with your wholeheartedness, your warmth, to give a virtual hand clap to Mei-Yan, our speaker. Mei-Yan
is really what is evaluation, why we evaluate, how we go through the evaluation journey, and and what is an effective evaluator, followed by a period when we can share in a dialogue and move forward together. So what are the objectives of this afternoon session? Firstly, it's really to enable us to recognize the purpose and the value of evaluation so that we can better understand the what, when, where, and how to evaluate effectively. Then it is time for us to commit to become a more effective evaluator. To start off, what is evaluation? In Toastmasters, we define evaluation as the giving and the receiving of constructive feedback. Note, it's constructive feedback, meaning we have to make sure that the feedback we give will really add value and help the speaker improve, hone their skills, and become better leaders. In a more general way, I've consulted Mr. Google, and this is what I got from Wikipedia. The systematic determination of merit, worth, or significance using criteria that is predefined and governments that will enable the person being evaluated to reflect and assist in the identification of areas for future change. So what really is the purpose of feedback? Number one is to support in the Toastmasters Club the members in achieving personal goals, reinforce positive behaviors, provide insight on we observe that need to be improved to become a better speaker and a better leader. So providing criticism is the essence. When we have to evaluate, we can consider using several methods. One is to tell and sell. But what do you mean by this? If you look at the graphics below, it is to give good points and also at the same time to highlight the areas where improvement is needed. So you can be very painful, as some of you have already commented earlier when answering the questions. So we need to, as an evaluator, to sell the idea of improvement by giving specific, concrete examples and also to demonstrate how the speaker can incorporate the suggestions for improvement into future behaviors that will enable him or her to move forward. The next method is tell and listen. Tell and listen in the Toastmasters context is not public like the earlier tell and sell. We normally would take the speaker aside and in a very personal setting, find out from the speaker what she feels and how she would react to your suggestions and comments. This is an important area. Listen to the feedback to understand where the speaker is from and whether there are any issues that she has with your recommendations, and then come to an understanding of what would be the correct way to move forward in terms of action for change. Then there is the problem-solving method. The problem-solving method is normally not done in public. It is very project-specific and looks at the issues from the point of view of what is the purpose of that project, the objectives or results to be achieved, where the areas are lacking in terms of ability to meet the objectives based on the criteria for performance excellence, and then coming together with the speaker and the person being evaluated to a common understanding of how to move forward to resolve the issues that are preventing the achievement of those objectives. So what is the key in all these three methods is constructive criticism. What do we mean by constructive criticism? Besides giving the good points and the bad points as feedback and inputs for the person, we really need to require a balancing of the good and the bad. The aim is not to destroy the person's confidence or to make him feel small and inadequate. So we must respect the person's. We have to make sure that the evaluation criteria we use is consistent and predetermined and made known to the speaker or the person being evaluated. And the feedback inputs for improvement in terms of the areas that needs improvement must be based on those objectives and the criteria. And it should be structured and consistently provided to all those who are undertaking the same project. In Toastmasters Pathways, we have got this structured instruments for us to use in provided feedback, which spells out the purpose, the objectives of the speaker, and the criteria with definite definitions, and also a very structured, consistent measurement point. I think the evaluation form has been sent to most of you. You take a look at it. And we have to focus on those aspects that are important and key to the achievement of the outcomes or results or objectives. And we are evaluating the project performance and not the person. So do not be personal and comment on the person so that they feel hurt. For the evaluation methods, we have to use the right evaluation resource, as I mentioned before, and it has to be consistently applied and understood by the evaluators. There are three key roles for the evaluator: the motivator, the facilitator, and the counselor and mentor. How do we achieve all this? We need to make sure that we really appreciate all these three factors, which I will bring later. And now I would like to invite my co-host, Suzanne, to share a clip to demonstrate what we mean by the constructive criticism and giving specific feedback, demonstrating and showing how a speaker can improve by highlighting an area which needs to be improved. Suzanne, please.
The bad way would be, Diana, I really like the
everyone
way your body language was. Your body language was really good.
Yes, very clear.
Versus,
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
ladies and
Yes, okay,
gentlemen,
don't worry.
the most
Thank
important
you.
part of Diana's speech was her body language. Notice how her body language brought this story to life. So as you can see here, the first way I did it, I'm talking to the speaker directly. I'm not really making it for everyone. The second way, I am addressing the entire audience and performing for them. I am making this evaluation for everybody. Not so just one person can benefit, but that's so everyone in the room can. And remember to make your evaluation a performance. The next thing you want to do is you want to go deeper. A lot of times people simply scratch the surface. They never go deep. They simply state the obvious. And that doesn't really mean much because when you state the obvious, obviously everyone already knows that. And really, you're just telling something the speaker already knows. By going deeper, you're helping to uncover something that can maybe be of tremendous value to the speaker themselves. Here's an example. She has a really great key message. Now, that's very simple. What if we go deeper? Ladies and gentlemen, notice how her key message is perfectly in line with the rest of her content. This is perhaps the most important thing you want to do when you are beginning to write your speech in Toastmasters. When you start with a very strong yet simple key message, it becomes very easy to align content A, B, and C to follow towards that key message and ensure that everybody knows what you're talking about and really make your speech come to life. So as you can see there, I've gone deeper. Instead of stating something very simple and obvious, I've tried to go a lot deeper to provide some extra value. And especially when it comes to contests, because when you're competing in the evaluation contest, you usually have 6 to 8 people that are probably going to say the same thing. So the deeper you can go, the more unique you can be, the better you're going to be on the judges' radars. Next is to give examples. It's one thing again to scratch the surface and say, she has great body language. Simple, whatever. But to give examples, to go deeper, this is showing that you are an expert. And what that means is that you know how this speech could be done better. And not only do you know how, you're going to show us that you know how. By showing this, you add a lot more credibility to yourself as an evaluator. And this way also, the crowd, the audience, can also see your demonstration of how this could be done much better. Let me show you an example. Now, the simple way would be, she has great body language. Versus, notice that as she gets angry in her speech, she begins to clench her fists. She begins to scrunch her face. You can see in her body language just how angry she is. And that's important to do when you're trying to express emotion in a speech. So notice what I did there? The simple way was to simply tell you she's got great body language versus giving the example and showing how it was actually done. Now, what I just did there was to highlight what was already done by an example. Now, what you'll often have to do is remember, you're trying to help the person improve. So here would be an example of how we could show them an example of how to do it better. Now, again, the simple way without any example would be to say, I really think you could improve your vocal variety. A lot of people say, I really think you can improve this. I really think you can improve that. But again, show us an example. Here's how I would do it if I was going deeper and giving an example. As I heard your story, you told something very sad. A story about pain and suffering. But I noticed the entire time that you were smiling and you sounded quite happy about it. That is wrong. What are you trying to tell me? I would suggest that instead you implement more vocal variety. If you're trying to tell a sad story, speak slower. Speak lower. And don't have strong, cheerful body language. Because this is a sad moment. So ladies and gentlemen, notice that example there. I point out the problem, and I point out why it's a problem, and I demonstrate how it could be done better by giving an example. So again, give an example how it should be done. It's going to make you a lot more credible. Everyone's going to learn. You're simply not just talking about something, you're actually teaching something. Last, ladies and gentlemen, is to use your time wisely.
Video something? I think Jonathan Pang is really great when he shared those examples. And this is a good example of how an evaluator can tell and sell the ideas, the comments, to move the person receiving the feedback to act, to emulate the good points shared. This is the public part of the evaluation done in a Toastmasters club. But to get the person to actually act, we need to more than just give a public talk on the subject of the project speech. We need to further understand how the person can move forward. And that's where you move on to the next method, which is to tell, listen, and problem solve. This is best done in private, face-to-face. And during this COVID period, we can't meet, so probably through a phone call, a video chat, perhaps, to better understand what actually the person is going through and what would help. And that's where our facilitating role, mentor and coach function comes in as an evaluator. We need to hold the hand of the person, or at least offer to facilitate or help the person map up a plan to move forward, to change the behavior that is required to move forward and improve. At this juncture, I like to have a break. I think you all have been quite bored by now listening to me, and hopefully the video has given us a sense of relief. Let's coffee break time. We'll come back in another 5 minutes. You can do whatever you like, take a coffee.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, afterwards we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can reserve it. Just hold on to it until the end of her presentation, and Mei Yan will be free to ask. You'll be free to ask any questions that any burning questions you have in mind. Okay. Okay, while waiting for the rest to come back, just want to draw your attention to the chat, the Zoom chat. We have uploaded the club evaluation climate questionnaire and the evaluation form in case you didn't receive it for you to review. And afterwards, Mei Yan will be going on to talk about that. But I think for the evaluation form, she will need you to complete it based on your own evaluation of her presentation. Is that right, Mei Yan? You need us to fill up this evaluation form, right? To evaluate on your workshop today.
Yeah, this is also an opportunity for me to learn how to improve my my skills as well.
Right. Okay. So after filling out the evaluation form and also the climate questionnaire, where she'll give more details, you can email back to our generic email account, events.ymcatmc@gmail.com. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat here. Okay, 2 minutes up. Right, the stage is yours, Mei Yan.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back from your coffee break. Now we are ready to go on to look at why we evaluate. Evaluation actually will benefit everyone. And for Toastmasters, it's win, 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 win. Look at all those smiley faces there. The club can be anyone, and all of us can strive to win, 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 win. So the evaluator wins by being able to help a fellow Toastmaster or a fellow member of the team go on to improve. And the speaker or the person being evaluated will win too, because he or she will have about areas or aspects that she may not be aware would require improvement. The club, the area, and the street will also win, because when our club members individually excel, the club becomes an excellent club. The area becomes an excellent area, and the district becomes an excellent district as well. And last but not least, Toastmasters International will also win, because when all the clubs under it and the districts excel, Toastmasters International as an international organization standing and reputation will also increase. So at home, it's also a win-win-win. How often, and I'm sure all of us and myself has experienced it, especially when we try to provide feedback to our children, particularly the teenagers and the young adults. Do they readily receive with open arms our feedback, our suggestions, our recommendations for improvement? If we are just to tell them what to do? No, I'm sure you have experienced this. It's very difficult to provide feedback to our loved ones. So if we are an effective evaluator and we understand the need to give constructive criticism that will be accepted, you win as a member of the family, and especially as a mother, a parent who wants so hard for the child or the spouse to improve. We have achieved our goal. Our loved ones will benefit, because they will be able to act on our recommendation and suggestions that will not only cause friction at home, but could also cause them to be resented by others when they move out to work or to be part of a school team or work with friends. And of course, the family as a whole will benefit, because then there will be harmony. And with harmony, there will be joy. And with joy, there will be good health. And everyone will become a closer knit family that will be able to do things together, enjoy, and move forward together. So in the work environment, it will also be a win-win-win, especially when it comes to teamwork. And today, none of us individually and single-handedly can be successful in the workplace, especially during this period of the COVID, when we more than ever need support, because each one of us looks at our own area, working from home, and having to share and collaborate. Having good feedback skills will gain us recognition as a leader. We can build an ACE team that will bring our career forward. And for those of us who are supervisors or team leaders, good, effective evaluation skills will set us apart from the others who do not really appreciate the need for applying effective evaluation in getting our peers, our workers who work with us, and our associates to come together and support our ideas so that together we can achieve more. Amongst friends and peers, how often have we heard of friendships being broken because of the way in which feedback given in very well-intended manner to help the other person results in resentment? Why has it happened? It's not because we don't do it out of goodwill, but it is the manner in which we say something or the manner in which the friend has understood us to mean to criticize them when we don't. So being an effective, constructive, positive feedback giver will build camaraderie and will help us to bond socially. We will gain the respect of our associates and friends, not just within our own group of close friends, but our reputation as someone we can go to for some good advice to improve when we face certain issues or problems, and one leading hand, respected as a leader in our own individual right. However, we must recognize that evaluation excellence cannot be achieved overnight. It is a journey. Giving and receiving feedback will always be uncomfortable for both the person giving the evaluation of feedback and the receiver. It is always a challenge to give and receive feedback. I personally have got this experience many times. It is important for us, and especially for the younger Toastmasters and the millennials amongst us who are used to having our own way. It is very difficult for us to receive feedback, especially when it is to point out areas where we may be lacking and needs improvement. So, first we must understand why people want to learn to speak and to lead. At the end of the tunnel is always what we individually perceive to be success. So when a person joins a Toastmasters club or a workplace, they want to climb the ladder of success by gaining knowledge, skills that will help them to advance so that they can meet the specific needs of the projects, of the programs, of the speeches that they deliver. This will help them to gain material rewards. It could be a promotion, and in the Toastmasters parlance, it will be all the achievements, advanced communicator, and of course, at the end of the tunnel, by myself, I'm looking voice to the DTM, Distinct Toastmaster. want to earn credit towards recognition, us to further our careers, to position ourselves in the eyes of others within the organization as a leader. Individually, we want to be the person we want to be. We want to be able to enjoy the journey to success. We want to grow in self-confidence. We need to build our own self-esteem, and we want to win acceptance and respect. And this last point about winning acceptance and respect is a very strong motivator for having the correct behaviors to change for the better. From the Toastmasters perspective, how can we move forward, improve as speakers and leaders? We make speeches based on the various manuals and we climb the different levels. Each speech we make, we get an evaluation report on how and be better, where our areas of strengths that want to make it even better, and it goes on continuously. For those of us who are not Toastmasters, it is people looking at our behavior and providing us with feedback so that we can behave better in a way to be able to achieve those results or meet the criteria or standards expected of us, whether it is in school, in the home, at the workplace, or amongst our own friends, or when we work in the community in various voluntary organizations like Rotary. It is a journey of continuous improvement in response to feedback. And maybe a cliche, it is a marathon, not a sprint. How do we build a climate for positive evaluation? In the Toastmasters Club, this is to keep emphasizing having quality evaluation. This will help the members become better acquainted. They will help us to make sure that the evaluators will be assigned whenever a speaker, a member of our club is speaking. And we will have to encourage dialogue between the speakers and the evaluators. In this area, the club's Vice President of Education plays a pivotal role. It is necessary for the Vice President of Education to not just only arrange for the chapter meeting program, get people to speak, get the evaluators for the speakers. His role is really to be the facilitator, to get the evaluator and the speaker together so that they can discuss and prepare for the evaluation. And most important of all, the evaluators also need to be evaluated. And this is in a number of who will then comment on the quality of the evaluations provided to members who make their speeches. Because not only do speakers need to improve in their skills of communicating and speaking to meet the objectives based on the criteria set for each of the project speech. Evaluators themselves must also hone their skills in speech delivery. As you have all seen earlier in the video, by Jonathan Park. It is necessary for evaluators to also perform just like a speaker needs to perform. And effective communication skills that we expect of the speaker. Remember, an evaluation speech is a speech, and we need to have the same skill sets to be able to communicate and get others to perceive and understand the message we want to send in the correct manner to prevent misunderstanding. And I myself have seen in many clubs people resigning, leaving clubs because they feel that the evaluation provided to them has been adversarial, or they hate certain people in the club who tends to criticize them. This is not limited to only Toastmasters clubs. Whether you are in a Rotary club or in any other association or society or voluntary work organization, it is always the same. People like to offer feedback, but this is often perceived as criticism, not because of ill intent, but because the manner in which it was conveyed is not quite acceptable to the party receiving the feedback. How then do we build a positive climate for evaluation? The most important is, of course, to ensure that the quality of the evaluations provided or the quality of the feedback provided is acceptable to both the speakers, the objectives set out in the individual projects. We need to help members become better acquainted, because unless they get to know each other, it is very difficult to receive feedback, especially when it is constructive criticism. Why must I be evaluated? Why should I receive and act on the feedback given by the evaluator? Getting to know each other better and understanding each other's needs, being able to appreciate the differences in viewpoints will help members grow together, give and receive positive, constructive feedback. When assigning evaluators to speakers, it is also necessary to understand the personalities of the speaker and the evaluators. Each of us are different. We all have our own perceptions and opinions. We come from different backgrounds. So it is necessary to make sure that this is balanced when we assign evaluators. For example, if we have a new Toastmaster, we must make sure that the evaluator is someone who is kind, who is committed to nurture, and not a person who would like to just tell and recommend improvements when the person is so timid and young and inexperienced. They may be frightened and will just shut down and leave the club. Dialogue is extremely important, especially between the speakers and the evaluators, to foster that understanding and appreciation of each other's needs and to balance the approach to the evaluation. To ensure that everyone in the group have an opportunity to evaluate, I would strongly urge that we consider in the clubs group evaluations. All of us have our own perceptions, have our own opinions, and would like to give certain different advice to the same person. So if we have a group evaluation, it is better from the speaker's point of view, because then he could see the different perspectives, the different areas that different evaluators could bring insights to that will help the person grow and change for the better. How well does our club evaluate is a very important exercise that I would strongly suggest each of us in our own clubs look at. And this is a snapshot of the 10 points that we are looking at in terms of the emphasis, the standards we use for evaluation, the responsibility we assign to the evaluator and the speakers, the club officers in role they play, the benefits we perceive and we want to promote, whether there's any conformity, the methods we use, the considerations that we want to apply when we identify appropriate evaluators for different speakers at different stages of their journey in the life of a Toastmaster. The process of evaluation that we adopt, how we get our speakers to be prepared to deliver their speech, and how we encourage and motivate speakers to accept evaluations and to act on the evaluations given. At this juncture, I would like to thank Deepak for sending in his evaluation. And Deepak, are you here? Deepak?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, thank you so much for your feedback. I'm very happy to see that your club is really doing very well and having a good club evaluation climate. Can you share with the rest of us how your club goes about creating this wonderful climate for evaluation?
Well, at the very outset, let me confess. I'm a new Toastmaster, and it's just been my icebreaker speech last around 10 days ago. So I've attended 2 sessions, and as a new Toastmaster who's being exposed to this setting for the first time, I was actually very impressed by the professionalism, the courtesy, the discipline that was being extended as an evaluator. So again, it was very new to me, and so my response to your survey was based on just 2 settings or 2 experiences. So, but I was very impressed by what I saw.
What are the specific areas that you are impressed, and what has actually impacted you so strongly?
I think the the video highlighted, I like the fact there's a lot of generality when you give feedback, right? I mean, you see that in the workplace, but I think some of the evaluators are very skilled and trained in terms of going deep. And I like the depth that was being just generality. So, again, I can dig in and try to remember a few incidents, but it was predominantly a lot of depth being offered. And the second thing now that comes to mind is people actually remember, and I'm also fascinated to see how do people remember when a speaker speaks. They must be taking very good notes and listening to give the kind of evaluation they're giving. But I'm not qualified enough to say, do they meet beforehand? Has the evaluator spent time on the speech? I don't know the answer to that. But I know for a fact that it's pretty skillful to be able to remember anecdotes, the speech, and then give very clear pointers on the as feedback.
Wonderful, Deepak. This is actually a very encouraging feedback from a young Toastmaster. See, we do evaluation, and I'm sure Deepak, you're now hooked, right? You're not going to leave the Toastmasters Club, right?
No.
You're going to spread this good word around and say, hey, friends, come join me. This is a good Toastmasters Club to be in, right?
Yeah, no, very good. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
wonderful. Keep up this good work, and I congratulate your evaluators that they have done a great job in creating this very positive response from you. It must
Yeah.
have been very uncomfortable for the first time you are being evaluated, right?
No, I was, but I was listening very attentively, and I was very happy to see that, very specific facets had been picked up, like from, so I was very impressed, very impressed.
Very good. Anyone else would like to share besides Deepak? No one? Maybe you would like to complete that evaluation form and send it back to me as to help me to understand how our clubs, and especially our own YMCA Toastmasters Club, can learn from all this feedback to see where are the areas we need to beef up, and where the areas we are doing well that we can continue to improve on and grow from strength to strength. Thank you, Deepak, once again for sharing. Now, how to be an effective evaluator then? Before I go on to ask them, can I ask the participants to just raise their hands and let us know some of the behaviors that you perceive to be effective in evaluation? I'm sure all of us have been evaluated, and we ourselves have been evaluators before. So please speak up.
So this is Deepak here, and I can just give some feedback. I think
Yes.
in the workplace, you tend to give feedback at periodic intervals. It's not at every incident or issue. So there is a periodic interval, maybe perhaps once every 6 months. I think it's important as you are dealing with people, if you have to give feedback, that it's important to actually write down and highlight certain incidents, certain facts. And there are two schools of thought. One is giving feedback fairly immediately on the incident that has irked you or you haven't enjoyed or you feel that the person can improve on. And the other is to actually jot it down as anecdotes and facts, so that when you do give feedback, you're bringing very concrete examples. Because otherwise, if you speak in 3 months or in 6 months, you tend to forget, you speak in generalities. But it's very important to keep a few anecdotes handy in a diary of certain folks that report to you or work with you.
Very good. So these are very specific areas of behaviors of effective evaluators. Make sure it's timely feedback, make sure that it is specific, make sure that you highlight areas specifically where the person being evaluated has done well or needs improvement. Any others?
We can only have one more to share. Yeah, keep it to 1 minute.
Okay.
Once we need to speed up.
Yes, one more. I'm sure many Toastmasters here, many of you are still working, and there would be a lot of behaviors of evaluators you like.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Vicky Su for Toastmaster Club of Singapore. I feel that being an evaluator, how you look, how you portray yourself is quite important. In my club, there are a few very, very good evaluators, and it's sometimes they add in part of acting inside their evaluation, like what you hear in the video.
Yes.
And they always win the best evaluator ribbon. Looking good, they're wearing jacket, and have a bit of how should I say it, the personality in it. Is it important to do that to you?
Well, we all have a soft spot for someone who looks pleasant, isn't it? We avoid those people who look very dowdy, we don't have good perceptions. So first impression counts. So you have a very well-dressed, pleasant evaluator who's evaluating you. You feel good because the evaluator have given you respect by making sure that he appears pleasant and he is in a position to offer you some feedback, right? I don't know whether the rest of you agree, but all of us have a tendency to like people who look good, don't we? Do you agree, Vicky?
I do, but in my club, they are prepared. They're so prepared. In fact, they spend so much time. Even speaker will send their speech to them, and during the coffee break, they will talk to the speakers to find out, if any point they need to add in order to win the ribbon. So it's not very easy. Yeah. So
Yes,
mm,
I
yeah.
understand where you're coming from. So you think that it is not necessary to go overboard.
Yes. What happened is that the younger ones they not go and evaluate. It's hard to compete. It's very, very hard to compete. Yeah. You put in so much in the 3 minutes, the your style, your personality, your how would I say it? Your acting skill, So we are trying
Actually,
to encourage young people to come forward to speak, to evaluate more.
important.
Yeah.
The thing is that evaluation should not be motivated by winning ribbons. Evaluation should be motivated by the commitment to help others improve. So we need to encourage younger ones to come in to do evaluation. And I'm glad that in the current Toastmasters pathways, in all the pathways, having to evaluate a speech as part of the projects they have to go through to be able to complete each pathway requires them to be an evaluator at least once. So this is already inbuilt into the system. So it is not just to become a winner of the best evaluator ribbon. And it is up to the VPE to ensure that we give everyone a fair chance to become a evaluator, and we will have to speak to this group of very excellent, accomplished evaluators that they should coach the young evaluators and be the mentors for these young evaluators to evaluate and hone their skills. So they should become the senior evaluators. They should be the ones who will be invited to evaluate the very good speakers in your clubs, the DTMs and so on. All right. So I would just say that these are some of my suggestions on how you can get this group of very good evaluators to groom a group of up and coming evaluators, as is the intent of your club, I think. Does that answer your question, Vicky? Hi. Vicky, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I muted it. Yeah. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, is that something that the club could do?
Yes. We right now our younger member they are evaluating now right now. Yeah.
Good. That's very good. Very good to know that. So let's go forward then. What are the 10 behaviors of effective evaluators? Number one is really to care about the person. When you care and you provide feedback, it will be received well. You have to suit the evaluation to the person. The stage at which the speaker is or the person is at in his life or in the journey in Toastmasters, you have to learn the person's objectives. understanding why and what is the goal that he or she has set for herself. We need to listen actively, observe the actions taken to achieve the objectives before we provide feedback. And we need to personalize our language when providing feedback. It should not be something that comes across as condescending or condemning. Positive reinforcement is the route to improvement, and it is necessary to make sure that our feedback is positive. We need to build the motivational climate for the person to change, to take action to succeed. And this is not just the work of the evaluator, it's the work of the whole club as a group. And when we evaluate, we should not target the person, but the behaviors exhibited during the project against the set of criteria and standards to be met. We need to nourish self-esteem for personal growth and show the person how to improve in a pragmatic way. It must be given in small bites that can be acted on by the speaker so that improvements can be immediate. Whilst we say fail safe and fail fast is important, it is really necessary for us to ensure that when they fail, there is a safety net and they would not be hurt in terms of their ego, especially. So what do you mean by personalizing the language for constructive feedback? For example, you can say, I suggest you do this. I think you have a stronger impact on me if you do something. Or a technique that I have found helpful is, and you may like to consider this. And remember not to say this. You should. You must. Good performance speakers do it by. What you are doing here when you say this is to tell the person is not good enough. And this can be very demotivating and for people who are weak and perceive themselves to be in a position of less power compared to the evaluator, it can be very, very damaging to the self-esteem. When we give feedback, we want to encourage the person to move upwards towards their goals. So provide objective information on observed behavior. And as Deepa has mentioned earlier, and Vicky has said earlier also, we need to be very specific and we must be able to cite examples and be given to the person in a timely manner. We can advise, but it must never be my view, you should. Putting the speaker at a lower status than the evaluator. It should be a collaborative effort as a partner. So effective evaluation must always focus on feedback rather than pure advice from our own personal perspective. To highlight areas done well, areas that can be better, where the person is already strong in this area, they can move on to excel. And very often, we can highlight to the person certain unconscious behaviors which they may not be aware of and which could be perceived as negative by others observing their behavior. One example is where we have, for example, in my own past experience, is a young Toastmaster who, whenever he speaks, he will put his hands on his hips, and then he starts shaking his legs as if he is in a dance. That is unconscious. He did not realize that he was doing it when he was delivering speeches. But if the evaluator has just spoken that is the wrong way, you should be doing this, he would be extremely offended, and he probably would have left the club. However, the evaluator who pointed this out to him said, a person's attention is focused on you when you speak. So if you move around or you have too much movement when you speak, you are distracting the person's attention on you and the message you are delivering. This struck a chord in the young Toastmaster, and he came up to the evaluator to find out more about where he could improve. And that is when the evaluator provided the feedback on the specific area of improvement that he needs to work on. Nourishing self-esteem when you evaluate is very important. But to nourish self-esteem, you have to be genuine and sincere in providing the feedback. Specific strengths of the person must be recognized, and the improvements made in specific areas following previous evaluations must be acknowledged. A very important part in evaluation to nourish self-esteem is avoid value judgment. Never judge that they can be better. When you provide feedback and suggestions for improvement, make sure it can be acted on. It must be practical. Don't set goals that are beyond the achievement of the speaker. So don't try to get a young toaster to behave like a DTM, for example. And of course, you have to create the climate for motivation to improve. So self-esteem, respect, constructive feedback is the bedrock for confidence building. When you fear, self-doubt, resentment, and negative behaviors, like having members leave the club and then bad-mouthing the club to all the others that they in their life encounter. So self-esteem helps us to become better, and this is a continuing process. Positive feedback will lead to personal growth, and personal growth in itself will enhance one's self-esteem, which in turn leads to further personal growth and increase in self-esteem. And at the center of this would be the person being evaluated, who will then believe in his own aspirations, his goals, and the ability to achieve these. Effective evaluation is a partnership. It requires the speaker and the evaluator to agree to form a partnership. The speaker must act on the feedback, the suggestions to change their behaviors for improvement based on the feedback given by the evaluator, which must be specific, actionable, time-bound, and targeted at improving specific aspects progressively over time. Requires hard work, just like the worker bees who build the honey beehives and to grow their larvae bees. It has to be done before in terms of planning and preparation, through effective communication, applying all the skills that an effective Toastmaster must have or an effective evaluator should exhibit. And also after, to follow up on the actions taken or not taken to understand why and how we can move forward in a problem-solving manner. So before the evaluation, the evaluator must get to know the objectives of the project. This must be clearly understood by the speaker and the evaluator. The personal goal of the speaker or the person being evaluated when he undertakes that project. And then to plan the approach to undertake the evaluation. During the evaluation, we need to use structured methods, which I've said earlier, like tell and sell, tell and listen, and so on. Each of these methods complement each other, and very often you need to use all three at different stages of the evaluation process. After the evaluation, there is still work to be done. You need to obtain feedback from the person evaluated on your views, your suggestions, and your recommendations to understand whether it is practically possible for the person evaluated to embark on those suggested changes. If they are not applicable or not appropriate, what can be done to adjust and tweak it so that the person evaluated can take the necessary action to improve? So concerns and issues that the person evaluated has should be considered when we look at how and why the person can or cannot improve. So it is necessary to discuss what is to be done, where it should be applied, why it is necessary, and how to take the necessary action. So just like the butterfly comes out, priceless change, you have to decide what you want to change. You have to recognize what are the benefits of change. Why must I change? And if all of you have children, those of you who have children like I have, especially the teens, whenever you ask them to do something, it is always, why? Why should I change? So we need to be patient. We need to persevere in the way we convey and convince the person to change. And there must be a clear plan of action to put the change into action. Change alone will not lead to consistent improvement unless we make it a habit. For example, we say we should stop smoking, but telling a person to stop smoking is not sufficient feedback for the person to take action to change. So we have to give certain suggestions like it's going to affect your health, but whether the person will change will still be decided by the person receiving the feedback. The important thing is that we should facilitate the person to make the change into a habit, so that there will not be a decision to stop improving. Once we decide to stop improving, we have decided to stop growing, actually. So when there is evaluation, we must not take the responsibilities fully just on the evaluator. The speaker has, or the person being also has responsibilities to make it happen. So there must be communication of the goals. The person must tell the evaluator what specifically they would like to achieve as a result of doing that project. This will help the evaluator to prepare for the evaluation, look out for the specific aspects that needs improvement. The speaker must also do their part diligently to prepare and work on the project assignment. And the speaker or the person being evaluated must also empathize with the evaluator, understand where the evaluator is coming from. And most important, the speaker or the person being evaluated will help the evaluator to improve too on the way in which the evaluation of feedback is being delivered, so that both the speaker and the evaluator will be able to change together for the better. So now it is time for us to embark on the journey of evaluation. And I would like to invite all participants to provide your views, your shares, your take on what we have covered this afternoon, and what is of value, what do you think evaluation should be, and so on. So let's unmute everyone and have everybody participate in this area. Anyone want to start the ball rolling?
Hey, hi, this is Simon. Maybe let me share my
Yes,
view
Simon.
first. I think
Sure.
the most important that I took away from your sharing is evaluation is not about winning ribbons during your conversation with Vicky. Because for me, sometimes I do feel a little bit upset when I thought that I did a good evaluation, but somehow I didn't win it. But from what you said that evaluation is not about ribbon, it's more about helping the person. So I thought that actually helped me to change my view. And moving forward, I'm not going to care so much about whether did I win or
Yeah.
did I not win. It's more about the speaker, the person that I'm evaluating. Thanks,
I
man.
fully agree with you, because at the end of the day, it is not the evaluator going for glory.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, man.
It's whether we have been able to make a difference in another person's life.
I want to say something.
Yes.
Again. Yeah, Vicky here again. In my club, we got dynamic speakers, and they are speakers who are. There's one lady speaker. She's not so. Not so. She's tactless. Okay. Once there's a lady speaker from China. Her pronunciation was not accurate. But so this evaluator say to her that you must improve on your language, and why not you watch BBC news more, and in order for the speaker to stand up in front of 70 people, my club is a big club, it's already a challenge. So when you go and tell her like that, it really, really kills her, right? Yeah, because I'm a mother hen in the club, so they will feedback all the negative feedback to me, so I know all the things. Yeah, so is as an evaluator, you must give special care, standard of care to speakers who are sensitive. Maybe you have to add 30% standard of care for people who cannot take criticism, especially for young people. What do you
Yes.
think?
I fully agree with you, Vicky.
Yeah.
Being tactless is something that is unconscious, maybe.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it was. It
because-
was because I feedback to her. She told me she didn't know it.
Yes.
Yeah, most of the time they don't know it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So a lot of times when we evaluate and give feedback, we are not aware of our own drawbacks. So it is necessary for the club as a whole to come together to understand the individual member's personality and provide appropriate avenues for them to recognize where they need to change to become even better. It's not that they are bad, it's just that there are certain areas that need. I can share with you, for example, I helped to set up the Sing Health Toastmasters Club years ago. And most of the members are from overseas, who mainly nurses, foreign nurses who come to Singapore. And the main reason why they join the Sing Health Toastmasters Club is to improve their learning skills. Many of them have very bad pronunciation because English is not their first language. So when we evaluate, we always tell the evaluators, don't focus on pronunciations, grammar, focus on the message. What is the key message the person is trying to say in the speech? And then we can put the person aside and say, hey, I can offer you certain help. Would you like to improve on your pronunciation, or would you like to understand better to structure your sentences? Give them the necessary help quietly. And today, many of the Toastmasters in Sing Health Toastmasters Club are in senior nurse managers, clinicians, and so on. And they all thank the Toastmasters Club for nurturing them to become leaders. And if we have evaluators to tell them your grammar is incorrect, you must dot your I's and cross your T's, they'll never grow. Because what is important in public speaking is not how well you structure your grammar or your sentences or your paragraphs. It's what is the key message you want to make a difference with that speech. I don't know whether you agree, Vicky, but that's how I feel. Any other comments?
By the way, Vicky is from Toastmasters Club of Singapore and Simon is from DBS Toastmasters Club.
Yes.
So they are actually from the Singapore Toastmasters fraternity. Now, can we have one or two Toastmaster from overseas to share, or maybe even a non-Toastmaster to share on, what takeaway they have gotten from this session just now for today?
Okay, I'm Cindy.
Yes.
Yes.
Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
I think very very important is to have empathy when you evaluate. Put yourself in the person's shoes, and we don't always try to give advice like you said earlier. You should do this better. We should say, how can you do it differently? When you say differently, then there is no judgment. Like you did it so badly before, now you have to do better, right?
Yes.
Then the person will feel so hurt. It's like a personal attack already.
Yes.
That's my feedback.
Very good, Cindy. See, all of us must have empathy, and empathy in evaluation is key. Empathy in the speaker too, because sometimes the evaluator may not really realize that they are hurting you. So it is necessary for the speaker to also quietly tell the evaluator that, what you said actually has hurt me, but I would like to share with you, and not just come and then in a half leave the club. Anyone from the Malaysia side would like to share on how you are doing over in the Toastmasters in Malaysia? Indonesia?
Hey, May, this
Yes,
is
sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Someone else? Yes, someone else is saying something.
No, I was just telling May. You said as part of you said this is a marathon, and
Yes.
this is all a marathon and a learning journey for all of us. I think that the one thing that is that comes to mind is that in an evaluation, one should try not to give too many points. If you can focus on one or two things, because again, it's not an examination, right? It's just it's objective of self-improvement. So people cannot give a lot of pointers. So if you give one or two very focused points, that is very good to improve for the next round. Because if you throw a lot, it becomes very challenging. You don't want to simulate.
Yes, very well said. It is very important to recognize that our brains cannot take in too much information within a short period of time. 2 to 3 key issues would really be very effective. Anything more than that, we get lost in the water, so to say. We are lost in the jungle, so we cannot see the trees anymore.
I think, Mei Yan, we have someone, a lady who asked you to repeat the question.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lady amongst the attendees.
What is the question? Say it so that all of us can hear what it is that is the issue.
There was a lady who wanted to say something before department
Yes.
mentioned.
Can that lady identify and repeat the question? I'm so sorry for missing you. Hi. Any feedback from anybody else? This is an opportunity for us to share and learn together. Yes.
For those of you who are not Toastmasters, you are also more than welcome to share your thoughts on what you have learned, because those things, less advice that Mei Yan has shared is actually applicable to a large extent to your own communications as well.
But maybe I'd like to just add that Toastmasters, learning how to speak, provides a safe environment for us to experiment, to try out. And very often we can, as members, use the Toastmasters platform to share on our work-related projects, that before we present our ideas to our bosses or to whoever in the management, we can test it out in the safety of the Toastmasters chapter meeting and get the feedback for us. So do not think that when we join Toastmasters Club, it is only to further our speaking skills as Toastmaster. Those same skills apply on the job, in the home, when we are interacting with people in the social environment. So if you are not a Toastmaster now, I would strongly suggest you join one of our clubs and work on areas that you think you need to work on. It is the goals that you have for yourself, not the goals that the Toastmaster movement impose on you. Anyone like to share from the non-Toastmaster perspective?
Hello, can I share?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm from Taiping Toastmasters Club. My name is Dorina.
Yes.
Yeah. This is my my point of view. I feel everybody join Toastmasters. Their intention is to improve their speaking skill. So as an evaluator, we are offering the help to evaluate them to become a better speaker. So we have to understand their needs and goals. From there, we can further evaluate the person. So we must help the person in a two-way dialogue. Before and after. Yes, we have to help them in the way to understand the person's needs. How we can help them to become a better speaker instead of tell them what to improve. So this is very important for a new Toastmaster, especially say my aim is coming to Toastmaster to improve myself. So you must like the evaluator has to do the duty to help them, to motivate them how to improve on their strength, improve their strength, give them some advice what to do. I mean not the way you instruct him or her to do. So this is my point of view. Okay, thank you.
Fully agree. Fully agree. It is necessary for us to suspend judgment when we evaluate. It is not good or bad. It is a balancing the areas that are good. In fact, we must encourage them to further enhance on areas that they are already doing well. Close the gap in the areas where they are relatively weaker. There is no such thing as they are very good or very bad, but this is the need to calibrate and agree on the what level that they think they want to achieve. And it must
because
be
everybody has a different strength. Yes.
Yes.
Background.
So the background of the person is very different, and what is their personal aim? Why do they want to learn how to speak better? There must be a purpose. It's not just to speak, right? It has to be related to the way they live their life. And
true.
so it has to apply to people who are non-Toastmasters as well, right? So that's how I see it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your feedback. How much time do we have, Suzanne, for before we have to call off the?
We need to wrap up now. Yeah, because it's close to 5 already. Yeah. So you may want to, Mayan, want to share on how attendees can come back to you on the club climate questionnaire, and also the just guide them in filling up.
Thank you so much for all the feedback. And I think we have a good, lively dialogue with feedback. And thank you, everyone, for your feedback. I'm so sorry that we have taken more time than we anticipated. And I hope all of you have taken some time to think about how we can go on better. And I would appreciate you completing the climate evaluation feedback form and sending back to YMCA, as well as the evaluation on my personal performance today in this talk. Thank you so much.